Today's modern Silk Road, known to all as the Belt and Road Initiative, is not in fact a trading route, nor a road. When China literally invades all the countries surrounding the road by taking away their economic opportunities, this Silk Road does not become a pathway, but instead a clog to the world's financial system. These countries are entangled in debts to build infrastructure that are not even useful for them to begin with. We define the Belt and Road Initiative as a 900 billion US dollar project from China, a development strategy that a trading network focused on China. And on the contrary, our model is we prefer loans from World Bank or Asian Development Bank, which relies not on China, because we think that when it comes to economic partnership, China is an inherently awful actor. What is our stance? On the surface, this project targets to bridge the gap between the developed and developing countries. We think this is completely false. That is our stance. Beneath the waters, China's intention to manufacture this Belt and Road Initiative is perilous, problematic, and does more harm than good to the member countries. As long as we can prove you just that, we are going to win this debate. We have 2 points of argument. First, why China's Belt and Road Initiative does not give the kind of economic development that nations all around the world needs, and why it unproportionately benefits China. Second argument, we are going to talk about why it prevents other countries to accept and enter a more viable and strategic economic partnership. So the first argument, why China's BRI does not give the kind of economic development that nations all around the world need. We think that China's ultimate objective is not an altruistic one of global equality. With their inherent crafty interests, their only goal is to benefit themselves. There are two justifications of this argument. The first is the countries view China as an imperative trading partner. More than 20% of Pakistan trade is done with China. If these countries remove China as their trading partner, the consequences felt will be much greater for them than the consequences China will feel, as China has a number of other trading partners to choose from. So there is a very asymmetric bargaining position between China and other smaller countries. But the second justification for this is a disastrous action China can take is devaluing their yuan. The moment China devalued their yuan in 2015, a lot of Asian countries' currency flunked in numbers significantly. Ringgit value dropped by 13% and rupiah dropped by 10.5%. We think that China will never hesitate to use any advantage and leverage that they have, because they are a pragmatic actor who focuses the regime control based on how much benefits they can achieve. There are 3 reasons why this characterization is harmful. The first reason is because unemployment. Being a ruler that wants to ensure him staying in power, as we can see from abolishing term limits, Xi Jinping's primary objective is to make sure that the youth in China are in situation to prevent revolts or distress that might threaten his power. The only avenue to which he can channel this is by creating BRI, by hiring their own domestic workers to build BIR project. The Chinese influence in South Africa cost the country 75,000 jobs. The promises of job creations have not been carried out. In the instance where there are new job fields for the local workers, rules and regulations have never been implemented, leading to poor safety. Take the example of Chinese-run mines in Zambia's copper belt. Employees must work for 2 years before they get safety helmets. Ventilation below ground is poor, and deadly accidents occur almost on a daily basis. But the second problem, we think that problem with the BRI being interconnected is that it has lowered prices and obstacles to enter. China can dump their products in a very low, cheaper prices. We think this had killed local industry. In Nigeria, the influx of low-priced Chinese textile goods has killed 80% of the Nigerian textile local companies. So we think it is bad for the local market as well. But the third harm that might imply and might inflicted by the existence of BRI is we think that the recipient countries get involved in debts because of the tempting loans deviously offered by China. 3 points why. First, the 6% interest rate that is offered by China is predatory in nature, as opposed to the loans offered by the 1% interest rate offered by the World Bank. But second, due to the minimum regulation that is imposed when taking out loans, these countries which do not have the capacity because of corrupt government, for instance, will be able to do so. This is happening all across the globe, in Pakistan, in Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, and Djibouti. But third of all, in most instances, these infrastructure are not even useful for the recipient countries to begin with. They often do not generate the profit that is recklessly projected. Take the Matala Raja Paksa International Airport as an example. With an annual revenue of only $300,000, it must repay China's $23.6 million a year. What are the implications of this? First, dependency occurs between these countries to China. When China pardons their loans, the governments in exchange create China-friendly policy, such as allowing Chinese companies that take up the jobs of the local workers, or other alternatives such as taking out more loans that will destroy the economy. Like the case of Hambantota Deep Water Port in Sri Lanka. The infrastructure is leased for 1990 years to China. China can expand its global power and boost its economy, which will result in three things. First, cheaper and easier access for Chinese product to enter the market, which will kill more local producers. Second, China will impose tax and fees on the usage of the ports that have been leased into Chinese companies. And third, an expansion of China's hegemony. It is harmful for China to have more power globally, as it means that it has an even more unfair bargaining position. China can further compel developing nations to take out its predatory loans and be a part of BRI. So we think it will disproportionately benefit China and disproportionately harm other countries, which are smaller countries that should be protected. So now the second argument. How BRI prevents recipient countries from assessing a more viable and strategic option. We think that China's utmost priority in BRI is to connect nations, right? Trust me, they have zero incentive in ameliorating the conditions of small countries like Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan. They only care about railroads that allows them to transport their cheaper goods to bordering countries and ports, granting them global dominance. Job trainings, educations, small and medium enterprises, whilst these are the things that people need the most in these countries, these are not the things that China will give to the people. Instead of building water reservoirs to solve the water crisis in Pakistan, highways that benefit few, but drain the capacity of an entire nation to address major crises. What Pakistan needs right now is not some huge highways that connect it with Nepal and Iran. The Grand Trunk Road that connects Islamabad and Lahore barely has any vehicle passing, while there are still villages isolated. Sri Lanka literally spent 90% of its country revenue to pay back the loans, an amount that could otherwise be used to cater to 50% of its population who currently live with less than $5 a day through initiatives such as job trainings and creation of small and medium enterprises. Not only until the countries have undergone the projects did they realize that they have been beguiled by the notion of economic improvement. The standard gauge railway in Kenya, with only 25 people riding the train every morning, is far from delivering the economic benefits it promised. We think the graver harm is that it destroys the ecology in the national parks, the main source of Kenyan national income. The infrastructure are no more than a manipulative illusion that the problems are solved. We believe these people should be given ways to fulfill their basic necessity first. We think the most countries which are underdeveloped should just build the infrastructure that suits their capacity instead of being dictated by China's pragmatic interest, which is to build their own economic hegemony all around the world. We are very proud to propose.